Previously on Open Era Z. Our heroes travel to the far-flung reaches of the galaxy. But it was an old friend who remained on top. The Queen of the Bagels was far too good for the field, and all fell before her. And while this year's journey may be over, we will all remember the battles fought along the way. On the other side, the greatest test in all of the galaxy was won by a wily old veteran. But there were sparks of hope as a bushy-haired young champion emerged in the Far East. As the battle concludes on the other side, who will come out victorious? The Sin or the Sinner? Find out on the next episode of Open Era Z.
Hello and welcome to the Open Air Podcast. My name is Devang and I'm joined as always by Mr. Simon Bushel. Bush, holy cow, it's been a while. Incredible intro. Only a Dragon Ball Z prologue could do justice to what we have missed, but it's great to be back, friend.
It's great to be back. I think the DBZ homage was me being in Japan for a month and seeing large amounts of anime everywhere, so feeling like I had to fit it into the podcast somehow. Yes, it's been a while, Dev, but I'm glad to be back talking to you about the final act of the tennis calendar.
Had to double check about a million times, but there is some more tennis after this ATP Finals in Italy that we just witnessed, Bush. There is some Davis Cup and there is the Next Gen Finals, but this is kind of the capper episode, so it's fitting, I feel like, to use it as a place to go back a bit and talk about all of the things that have happened really since we've last spoken to you. But Simon, I got to ask you about Japan. I'm assuming it's going to be in your two calendars remaining as well. But how was that trip?
It was great. Yeah, I'd never been to Asia before, so it was nice to go and visit Japan and see different parts of it. Started in Tokyo and then took the bullet train down the south coast to Hiroshima and saw some other cities along the way: Osaka, Kyoto, Nagano. Just a really cool country. Lots of amazing things to see. Great history, of course. And then just lovely to be in a place with working infrastructure, with good public infrastructure and good public transit. You kind of forget what it looks like.
Man, yeah. I feel like that it's a sign of aging as well, but it is maybe the thing I notice first when I'm visiting places is transit and infrastructure and things working better than where I'm coming from. And yeah, I can only imagine. I've been to Japan, but very briefly, and I've seen a few of my friends make the trip very recently, including yourself, and I'm extremely jealous. But that trip sounds amazing, sir. So yeah, where do we start here? There is a lot we missed, but in favor of recency bias, let's talk about the ATP Finals that just concluded in Turin, Italy, as we talk to each other today and record this episode. Simon, Jannik Sinner trying to take down Novak Djokovic twice in 1 week, which surely would have been the scriptwriter's preference, I wonder. But it wasn't meant to be because Novak Djokovic was too good on Sunday. I think it was more a case of Jannik Sinner's level not being anywhere close to where it needed to be, Simon, after what we saw on Tuesday when he beat Novak. But it is another example, I think, of Novak bringing a player down just with the way he can play against you and bring the moment to a realization where this got really big for Jannik and the crowd willing him on wasn't enough.
I think there's something entertaining about it. I sent you a message yesterday saying that I think Sinner's completely shagged, just both emotionally and physically going into this final. And it's testament, I think, to Novak Djokovic's overall conditioning that the dude who was not shagged was the guy who's nearly 37, right? Going into his, how many years is this, 25 or something he's been on the tour for, against the young up-and-coming 22-year-old who's really struggling with his conditioning. I mean, what more can you say? Like, it's 7 titles here in the World Tour Finals for Novak Djokovic. He didn't put a foot wrong in his semi-final or in the final. He played to a level which, I mean, it wasn't his best, but his normal rally game where he's able to just find consistency and put players in positions of where they're really struggling. I think it really upset the rhythm for Sinner. And I think he made some adjustments as well from that round robin victory as well. And I think that's how good of a player he is. He's just in the space of 4 days or whatever it was, he's able to make those small adjustments in tactics. And he's conditioned well enough to be able to do that. I mean, amazing credit to Jannik Sinner. It was a fantastic tournament for him, but let's give the flowers once again to the world number one and the 20 billion time Grand Slam champion, Novak Djokovic.
Shouts friends of the show, Vivek, Jacob, posting, since Novak lost that Wimbledon final to Carlos Alcaraz, Simon, 22-1, won Cincy, won the US Open, won Bercy, won the ATP Finals, year-end number 1 for the record 8th time, 400 total weeks at number 1, record extending, 40 Masters, 24 majors. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. And I obviously this matters to him. And I do find that I thought generally the way this tournament was promoted this week was good. And it also made me kind of mad just remembering how badly the WTA Finals was run. And we can talk about that in a bit. But I think overall, like the way this tournament is presented, it reminded me a bit more of how it used to feel in that O2 Arena generation, Simon. And I think the crowd also being super into it because of Jannik Sinner was so welcome. And it felt like it was a slow burn and then a huge open arm hug for Jannik from this crowd. I didn't know. It didn't seem like he was their chosen son when this started, but it definitely felt that way at the end. But I feel like Novak loves situations like this because he was up for it. You never have to worry about him not being ready to meet the occasion emotionally, Simon. And I think that's also something of his that is so impossible to teach. Like you just have it. And he so clearly does.
Yeah, I think the real question is how much is he going to want to be motivated going into the 2024 calendar? Because I still think he's probably the best player in the world, or I mean, within the top 2 or 3, clearly. There's no doubt that he's been the best player on tour since the US Open, like the back end of the season. Even before then, you could certainly make the case. But I think one of those things is interesting to sort of identify is that Jannik Sinner, the second best player on tour in the back half since the US Open. One in China, one in Vienna, looked really, really good in both occasions on a hard court, really finding his game. So I guess that's probably the biggest thing that I'll take away from this tour finals is whether or not, is this a mirage? Is this an illusion of a level that Sinner has got himself to? Or is this the real deal going into 2024? Because by God, if you listen to Carlos Alcaraz talk about this,
yeah,
Jannik Sinner is going to be world number 1 for the next 25 years.
Well, I don't think this is like a Felix 2022 type run where I think Jannik Sinner's bona fides are they've already eclipsed Felix's, right? And I think so we can measure this a bit differently. And obviously he's played in matches with higher stakes than Felix did this year. So I don't think we can compare it to that, but I am slightly apprehensive to crown him as much as Charlie was. I thought it was interesting just regarding Alcaraz, Bush, like the semifinal against Djokovic wasn't a bad match for a straight sets one at all. The second set had an obscene level during many points, but he was complaining about the court speed, saying it was faster than anything they had played basically all year. And what is the point of that? And it did feel like his level or the baseline level he was bringing to the table in some of these matches wasn't good enough, whereas maybe it had been before. And I thought it was interesting, maybe him meeting sort of a fork in the road in terms of I'm so gassed, I've got nothing really left. This is the end of my season kind of thing. Whereas Jannik seemed to not enjoy, but like kind of recover from not being as much in the conversation during big portions of the season.
I think it's fascinating as well about how a player and the camp sets up for the run during the course of the whole season, both ATP and WTA, because obviously you're wanting to peak at different times. If you're setting Grand Slams as your target, you want to be in peak physical condition and you want to make sure that you have enough energy to go for those stages. Like, how much does this finals really mean to a lot of people? How much does it really mean to the field in general post US Open? Certainly at the top end, like in the top 20. And you do get some strange winners. You do certainly get some strange champions, as we can come on to in parting shots. But I think that's kind of one of the fascinating parts of this one, which is that how much energy do these players have left? It clearly didn't look like Carlos Alcaraz particularly invested in this tournament, just from the way that it's not like he went away in that semifinal. I think that would be very harsh to say, but you didn't have the same bounce, you didn't have the same fire that you saw at Wimbledon, and potentially that's down to just overall merit placed on this tournament and about how much prestige there is in it and how much he wants to win it. Carlos Alcaraz is going to win this finals many times to come in the future. I have no doubt at all about it, but it seems like this year was not the year that he wanted to put all of his stock to doing so.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Amongst that final four, like I think if you're going into next season, it's pretty damn formidable in terms of like.
Is that not the final four in Melbourne?
Yeah,
just
probably.
from a court speed perspective as well. Like it seems like it's a big. We just got a precursor of what the semifinals and finals of the Australian Open might look like. Not at least because of the fact that it's in like fucking 40 days.
it's in like 2 weeks. Yeah. Well, I mean, I wanted to kind of reference this because I think a lot of the conversation during the week was about Jannik beating Novak and how the match quality that we were seeing being produced from a certain section of the tour, aka the younger players, aka the players that are going to have to pick up the scraps post Big Three and oh God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I think there was some positive signs in that regard, not just from Jannik, but your Holger Rune's and your Carlos Alcaraz's obviously. But how much more comfortable are you, Bush, with the state of the game as we wind down the ATP side of the season? Like, is it in a good place, or is it in a place that you feel good about?
It actually is. And I think this tournament solidified how good those three young kids are. Like in the sense of, if you're looking for the next sort of iteration of what the ATP looks like, it is Holger Rune, it is Jannik Sinner, and it is Carlos Alcaraz. Like they're head and shoulders above their contemporaries and the field, I think. Even when you're asking a question, I mean, Ben Shelton is within that age range, but would anyone rank that dude higher than those three? No, not at all. Like that's absurd in terms of, and that's no disrespect to Ben Shelton, because I think he's a very, very good player, and like he's going to be a good player in top 20 for a long time. But like those three dudes are really at a very, very high level already. And I'd be stoked if 2024 was an evaluation of how really good those three kids are, of how much they are able to build on their 2023 success and how deep they're able to run in a lot of Grand Slams. I think that would be a really fascinating story. So I'm hopeful that we see it.
I was looking at who qualified for the next gen finals, and it's a testament to how good these guys are that so many of the people that were supposed to go to Saudi Arabia aren't, because they were in the ATP finals, or they were taking a break because they had played so much damn tennis and had a really great year, like your Ben Sheltons or even your Lorenzo Musettis. But your Alcaraz, your Holger Rune's, they've the leap has been made, and I do think that sentiment was welcome, and the idea that we are blessed, quote unquote, to have this, in the sense that they're not the same player either, right, Simon? I think they all bring a level of variety to the game that's fun to watch. I think I still have a lot of fun watching Daniil Medvedev on a hard court. A lot of fun. I think it's interesting that Jannik Sinner's kind of seeming to get his number, Bush, which I think is a sign of development for him. The coaching aspect for Jannik, Darren Cahill being a prominent voice for him this last month as well, Simon, it seems like it's a bit of rocket fuel for him heading into next year. But he ran into Novak once again, and yeah, it was a really weird season in the sense of like we had Wimbledon happen, and perhaps I don't think anyone sane was writing off Novak Djokovic, but I think I was a bit surprised to see him come back as forcefully as he did with the way he did. And it was just yet another example of how freaking great this guy is. But man, like I was a bit surprised, and maybe I shouldn't have been. Maybe that's shame on me for underestimating this guy again.
I mean, potentially. I mean, at some point he's going to have to fall off a cliff, and it's not happened yet. So how many more superlatives can we add to the fact that someone's continuing to do this at the age he is? The under 22 thing, I think, is really, really fascinating, because you look at that next gen tour finals, and then you look at the contemporaries of the three dudes that I just spoke about, and you can throw in Jack Draper, you can throw in Lorenzo Musetti. You can throw in Arthur Fils. You can throw in Luca Van Asch.
Let me throw a 5-year-old Alex Mickelson as well. This American kid.
I think he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think he's pretty solid as well. And Mensik's really good as well. Like that Czech kid as well. He's really, really young. I think he's even 18. He might be still 17. And he's inside of the world's top 150. So like if we are keeping an eye on those kids to do amazing things in 2024, I think you're in really good shape, because there's some fun personalities in there, and there's actually some decent flair as well. They're not all just boring baseliners. There's some good variety there.
The other guys, quickly Bush, Stefanos Tsitsipas left with an injury. The fact that he got into this tournament at all, just good enough, but not overall a great year for him, Simon, I would say. Like, I don't think we have many deep thoughts on Stefanos, but I was curious what you thought about Alexander Zverev and their promotion. Like, I think, I don't even know if it's like tone deaf anymore, because they clearly indicated it's not their problem, the ATP has, but as we've got news regarding the settlement he has to pay in Germany regarding the incident with his ex-partner, I found the level of promotion for him a bit tone deaf as usual.
I mean, not particularly surprising from this tour, really.
Yeah.
Also, like, just given the conversation that we just had about how many young, cool players there are coming up, like, stop fucking focusing on Alexander Zverev anyway. Did you take in Donation Gate, by the way? The Tsitsipas story of him wanting to do a donation for charity?
No, I did not. What happened?
He wanted to do it for every set that he won. He was going to donate an amount of money, and then he lost in straight sets, and then withdrew.
Wow!
so he donated $0.
That's incredible. I mean, is that a skit? Did he do this for? That's incredible. Wow!
Peak Stefanos, amazing.
So good. Okay. Any other thoughts on the ATP Finals, Bush, as a whole?
The one thing that I would say on this one is that legitimately I forgot where this was.
Yeah, big time. I honestly, if you didn't, I would have thought this was back in the O2, just from an aesthetics point. And I think in that sense, it was a good memory of that.
It was, yeah. I think from an aesthetics perspective, it got nowhere near Cancun. I loved that court for the WTA Finals and the setting. I thought it was so like intimate and interesting. This felt a little boring, but at the same time, at least they made some noise for our boy Yannick.
I thought the crowd was excellent. And as per usual, that makes a difference. Like, I saw Nick Kyrgios doing commentary during the ATP Finals, which thankfully I did not get that broadcast. I don't know if you did, Simon.
I did not. I also love the way that you were wrapping this up like you were doing a fucking movie review.
Just
in conclusion, I think it's a 3 stars.
Well, I didn't hear Nick on my broadcast either, thank God. But I did through our wonderful Discord, I believe. Josh was saying he was just doing like the generic, like, we need loud crowds in matches like this. And like, yeah, no kidding. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for the insight. But I will say, fantastic. I love the crowd. Loved how Yannick embraced it. I don't really see that much from him, even watching him in person this year in Toronto. It's interesting watching him as a human being. Like, it feels like it's not natural for him to be extremely heart in his sleeve in front of a lot of people. I think that's just not his style, but I felt like this week was really cool for him, and he still got that moment against Novak even to lose. So that was cool for me. But yeah, overall, I don't know. There's something about the way the season was for me that it felt slightly ungood in some ways, but I do like the idea of having some youth inject some competitiveness that we need in these big finals.
I don't give a shit about the World Tour Finals. Never have, never will.
You used to.
I'm not really the person to ask.
Here's the lie, though. You did. You used to care. I think that's the thing.
You think it was the UK-centric thing?
Yeah. Once they moved it out of your podunk country, you find suddenly it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. I will say Novak, the longevity thing is insane. 2008, right? He won the first one to now. That is upsetting. We're all getting old. Yeah, that is the ATP Tour Finals. When we come back, the WTA Tour Finals. And while Simon had some good things to say about the vibes in Cancun, some others did not. We're going to talk about that and talk about Iga and her demolition job after the break. Welcome back to the Open Air Podcast. We've talked about the ATP Finals. Among the things we missed during our prolonged hiatus, Simon, the WTA Tour Finals in Cancun, Mexico. Iga Swiatek destroying Jess Pegula in the final. Simon, this tournament maybe had a fan in you, but overall, not a great showing for the WTA after they kind of picked this venue last minute, and it kind of speaks to where the WTA is at right now as an organization. Not the players. The players are great, and we'll talk about Iga in a sec, but it all seems to me, and from my reading into this, they chose Cancun because they were worried about the pushback from how it would look if they went to Saudi Arabia this year. They're going to go to Saudi Arabia, but they didn't choose that Czech deal because it locked them in for too many years. They don't want to go to Czechia for 4 years in a row. They want to go to Saudi Arabia for a bigger payday because they're in a terrible financial situation. So they're waiting it out. And they had this event in Cancun that looked like a part-time fiasco, which it seemed to be.
Ugh. God damn it, Dev. Such a downer.
I know. But am I wrong?
End of the season.
Am I wrong, though?
I love the fact that within here, there's a line about like, well, we had this purse on offer from the Czechia tournament, but we think it's going to look bad if we take it for so long and don't miss out on the Saudi Arabia money. So I guess we're just not going to do that. Anyway, the hilarity of that aside, one player who did not like this at all was Anya Sabalenka. Mm-hmm. Scorched earth, Dev. Was not a fan of this tournament at all. Called it amateurish at some point as well, I saw. I don't know, Dev. I loved it as a fan. I love the court color. I love the rinky-dink nature of it. It kind of looked like a bunch of the world's best players were playing in Rucker Park in the middle of New York City. And if we want variety in the tour, I'm all for that.
You should have been hired for the PR spin on this, because that's excellent. You almost convinced me, as I recall, that I looked like they were playing in a closet on a court. In terms of how much space there was. I don't want to be a downer in regards to the players, but I think the players being mad about this is why I wanted to start here. I think Ons Jabeur was mad about it, or not pleased with the fact that it was a temporary structure and the players didn't get a chance to actually hit on the court until very, very late in their preparations. That's not what's supposed to happen at the WTA Finals. It was never supposed to be there, obviously. It was supposed to be in China when they signed that $1 billion deal. But obviously a lot of things have happened since they signed that deal. And in between, with stops in Dallas, with George W. Bush in the house and 20 other people, in Guadalajara, the crowds have been bad, and it has not been a good display for the best players on tour who have provided hours and hours and hours of incredible matches this season, Bush. I think it's an embarrassment for them to have to go through this. So I think it's more for the players to not have this happen again. But yeah, I mean, I was reading this article from Tumani Cario in the Guardian regarding where the WTA is at and some of the losses they've disclosed. And we're talking 16.5 million, 15.1 million. They haven't posted on certain social media in several years, including TikTok. If you look at how much saturation there is from the ATP side, and then you compare it to the WTA, it's shocking, the disparity. So this prize money gap is one thing, which has continued to widen. And I know we've heard some declarations to combat that, but just everything else around this, outside of this side, it's a bleak picture for the most talented players, arguably, we have in the sport.
It kind of looks like the whole running of the sport on the WTA side is a complete farce, does it not?
Yeah.
It looks like running around the offices. Where is the WTA? Is it in Charleston or something like that? Is it North Carolina or something? I don't know where it is. Either way, wherever that building is, it kind of looks like there's six dudes in their 60s who have all played at a country club once or twice, who are running this sport, as opposed to anyone who are actually professionals and want to be involved in it. As much as I enjoyed the aesthetics of the Tour Finals, I do want to outline that I was joking about it. It was a complete... Or people slipping on the court as well, like the fact you don't play on it or didn't get the chance to train on it means that the first time you're actually hitting on it is during live match play, and is not just the fact that it's problematic from a match perspective, from being able to produce high quality matches. It's also dangerous. If you've never hit on the fucking surface before, you might struggle to keep your footing, which is what happened during the course of this. We're lucky that no one got injured there as well. They got a lot of work to do, have they not? A ton of work in 2024 and moving forward to actually make this a tour that is worthy of the talent that they have there.
Headquarters in St. Petersburg, Florida, just to confirm, Simon. So you were vaguely close. Thing, right? Vaguely close. Yeah. Same time zone. The actual tennis. This season, Simon, I think it was about Iga. Like, basically, how do you respond to a generational 2022? We've talked about her at length on this show, and I mean, she deserves it. There's a few people who have been the vanguards of the sport the last few years, and she's definitely one of them. How do you follow up winning 2 slams and getting to a semifinal of another? You win another slam, you go through some periods, I think, of quote unquote rockiness. But I think overall, this was a predominantly successful season for Iga, and it was defined maybe or exclamation marked by a really impressive run in Cancun.
She looked head and shoulders above the field in the last 2 months of the season. And I think illustrated by the fact that her one loss against Kudermetova, she righted the ship very well in China and then in Cancun. She was so dominant. Like, honest to God, Dev, she was so dominant in some of these victories that she had against players that she'd struggled with during the course of the season that it made me wonder whether or not this is form that she's going to carry through the early part of the 2024 season. We have waxed lyrical about her as a tennis player and as a torchbearer for the tour on the WTA side, but she's still so damn good and hits the ball so cleanly that I'm really excited to see. I think we've only just started to scratch the surface of what she's capable of, and that's kind of astonishing considering she's a multiple-time Grand Slam champion. She's only 22. And that point on her, like, following up the historic 2022 campaign, she made 8 finals this year, I believe, 4 titles, another 3 semifinals during that course, won a Grand Slam, finished the year world number 1, fully did the what's that meme of the Superman guy sneaking up? Oh no, it's not the Superman guy. It's is it Momoa, right? Sneaking up behind of Anya Sabalenka last week. The final week of the campaign, she snuck up and got that world number 1 ranking. So yeah, I think it's quite the season, even though it's not quite the same as a 2022 campaign.
Agreed. 3 bagels at the WTA Finals, including in that final against Jess Pegula. Didn't lose a set at all.
Didn't even look close to losing a set.
No, it was a demolition. And yeah, I mean, the conditions are one thing, and I'm super glad the players spoke out, but I'm also glad that we had a champion at the end of the day that, yeah, I think overall could talk about a lot of players having excellent seasons this year. Simon, we can talk about Marketa Vondrousova shocking everyone at Wimbledon. We could talk about Coco Gauff coming of age at the US Open and winning her first Grand Slam title. We could talk about Ons Jabeur once again getting just devastatingly close, but still offering a level of variety that we haven't seen in a long time. We can talk about Elena Rybakina also following up on a really strong 2022, an excellent 2022 with a great 2023 as well. And I didn't even mention Sabalenka yet, who won the Australian Open and who is proved to be, an excellent foil to Iga push at the top of the game. Like, there's a lot of great stuff happening here at the very top of women's tennis.
Absolutely. And I would throw in the sort of comeback story of Madison Keys as well, who had a fantastic 2023 season, finishing almost inside of the world's top 10. And another name that I think will circle on the card is Quen Zheng as well, who obviously won a title at the back end of the season as well in her hometown. And I think she finished in the world's top 15 as well, got a new career high. I think she's going to have a very big and exciting 2024 campaign as well. So like there's talent and there's depth all over the place. I think it's going to be really exciting to see what a lot of these players do. And the funny thing is, like, we kind of start 2024 in the same place that we started 2023, which was still playing catch up to Iga Swiatek, even though they kind of did catch up and surpass her for a little bit. She ends the season moving away from the field again, which is kind of funny.
It's a bit tight. I think she's got like a 225 point lead on Sabalenka for number one. But yeah, there's a bit of a gap between them and Coco Gauff in third, and then Rybakina. But it sets up excellently for next year, Simon. You're right. I was going to hold on Canada Billie Jean King Cup, but I might get to that now. Do you have anything else, Simon, on the last few weeks? I think you mentioned Iga winning in Asia, really dominating in China. Jess Pagula also had a really strong Asian swing.
I mean, what do you make of that final, just overall, to see Pagula lose the way that she did? Like, this is a World Tour final. This is supposed to be the pinnacle of the 8 best players in the world. How many points did she win in this final? It was like less than 30, right? It was some ridiculous number of points. I was trying
to see how long the YouTube recap was. It was 5 minutes. Yeah. So I think that's a gauge of like how many points they had to show.
So the fact that we're even asking the question of how the world number 5 in the World Tour Finals, how many points, not games, not sets, number of points that she won in the whole match would give you an indication of how one-sided this was as a final. Many things. I don't want to shit talk this final too much because, of all the things, the court, the conditioning, how much people cared about it, the fatigue level of playing in October at the time, when they're literally playing in the first week of January already. It's a long season. But this was kind of a shambolic final, was it not? Just from an overall performance level.
I think Iga played fine, but I don't think JP, I think 23 errors for JP. She had 1 break point, but it was one of those where it just nothing was happening that day. And it was a bit painful. This whole week, I have a feeling that to even make the final might have been a winning moment just mentally for a lot of these players. What happened? The singles and doubles titles matches were originally scheduled to be contested on Sunday, but they had to be moved up because of the weather. A lot of things happened that weren't ideal. So I don't blame her too much for what's been a hectic end of the season.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the BJKC.
God, what a tough acronym. What a really tough. I've been trying to figure out how to best do it short form so I don't stumble on it. And as you can tell from this episode, folks, I'm not having a good time. But
can we just call it the Billy?
The Billy. Right? We're calling it the Billy. The Billy was settled in Seville, Spain. And Canada, champions of the Davis Cup, champions at the Billie Jean King Cup. Incredible scenes led by one of the cooler teams, Simon, that I think you could put together if you're a Canadian diehard, if you're someone who's loved Canadian tennis. Of course, you've got Leylah Fernandez, the leader of this team, U.S. Open finalist, had a tough season, Simon, but this was awesome to see her win against some excellent opponents, players that she will no doubt see in the early rounds of many tournaments next year. But she was excellent. But the rest of the team, Simon, Rebecca Marino, the teenager Marina Staucic, Jeannie Bouchard playing a role in this as well, and then doubles ace Gabi Dabrowski. Amazing scenes to take down Czechia, to take down a team that boasted Vondrousova, Krejcikova, and a lights-out doubles team, Simon. Very, very impressive stuff.
This happened whilst I was in the backstages of my Japan trip.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me how the hell this happened?
Yeah.
How on earth did they win this?
You could say the WTA putting that the finals in Cancun slightly played a role, I would say. Because I wonder if Iga plays in this, if this event was held in Europe, in Czechia, because Poland was in Canada's group. She wasn't there, which is a big deal. So I think Magda Linette was their top ranked player. So Canada got through that. And then from there, man, I think it's just generally Leylah Fernandez is a beast when she plays for her country. That's simply it. She is absolutely electric. And Staucic, I think she had won a couple challenger events in a row heading into this tournament, but so she was the hot hand. But I don't think anyone expected that output from her. She was excellent. But Layla's fascinating, man. We're talking about resilience and grinding and not having a great time of it and really struggling this year at certain points to really find a way to salvage something from this season. Reminded me a bit of Felix as well. Like, I think they both would be the first to admit this hasn't been a great year overall, maybe, or then there have been some really difficult moments, but both of them have been excellent towards the end of the season, and Layla is amazing.
Well, Canada are world champions, aren't they? There's no denying.
Take that, Todd Woodruff, or whatever goon Australian was mad about the Davis Cup. Are they still talking, huh? I can you tell I'm mad about the Cricket World Cup final, Simon, that happened? Can you tell I'm pissed off?
At least Virat Kohli can go quietly into the night now. He can enjoy his retirement.
Seeing Narendra Modi having to hand over the trophy to Pat Cummins with a scowl on his face made it all worth it, though. So that was great. I'll talk more about that in parting shots. But anyways, it's a bit weird, Simon. Like this tournament, the way it's situated in the calendar, not ideal. You didn't have all of the top women's players at this event, so we have to, I guess, say that. But I don't think that takes anything away from what Canada was able to do at this tournament. Like I said, they beat Czechia. They beat one of the best tennis countries in the world. They beat one of the best tennis countries, full stop, in the last 5 years. I think that was massive, Simon. So I don't know. I think we talked about the recent generation of Canadians. I think we had a replay episode talking about Dennis, Felix, and Bianca especially. We've seen varying levels of success for all of them, and they've all carved out exceptional careers. I mean, by any standard, when you talk about reaching the rankings that they've reached and the titles that they've won, they've been phenomenal. But the pipeline, I've been curious about it, and to see guys like Gabriel Diallo succeed on the men's side and help kind of fill that gap, and now to see someone like Marina Stalkic, it's pretty cool, because I think there's a few Canadians that are coming up now in that like 17 to 18 range who have this ability as well.
Yeah. World champions, people. Get it into your brain. You know when Germany won the NBA World Cup?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, the NBA. Jesus, won the Basketball World Cup.
FIBA yes.
won. And then everyone in the NBA like lost their shit about
yes.
Germany calling themselves world champion. Before we mention any Canadian player in the 2024 season, we can call them world champions now, just to fully annoy the rest of the tennis world.
It's incredible. Did you enjoy any of the shout outs they got from random celebrities? I find it interesting when tennis breaks into the mainstream in Canada for events like this, because I feel like it's right in that sweet spot of you really got to kind of care about the stakes and why it matters, and find it in the middle of an NFL Sunday with, I think Premier League was on, all the sports available. I still think it had an imprint on the Canadian sporting landscape, which was tough to do at this time of year. So I think that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a shame that Justin Trudeau had to comment on
it. Not now, bro. Not now. We don't need this. Okay.
Come on, dude. You're down by 40 points.
Lay low. Yeah. No, you're going to lose to this Millhouse clown. Jesus. Okay. All right. When we come back, Simon, parting shots on this episode of Open Era.
Welcome back to the Open Era podcast. It's time for putting shots. Devang, let's have a quick lightning round update from some of the tournaments that got played as well. We mentioned it off the top, but Leylah Fernandez did win in Hong Kong, beating Katerina Siniakova in the final. A cool win for a cool person. Fantastic back end of the season for her, right? Wins with Canada at the BJK in the Billy, and wins in Hong Kong as well. Sets her up in good shape going into 2024.
It's not going to work if you don't stick with the name seconds after we agree on what it should be called, Simon. I don't want to have another personal players only meeting about this, but get your head together. No, like I said, excellent. 35th now. The ranking is massive for many reasons, obviously, but getting that automatic entry into tournaments, not having to slog through qualifiers, not having to play the big guns right away. It'll all be helpful. She's around some fascinating names there as well, Simon. Sophia Kenin, 2 spots above in 33. Awesome ending to the season for Leylah. And Never doubt the heart of a champion. That's what we say. And she's got it. She's fully got it. There's no doubt about it.
That's right. Keep an eye on world champion.
Yes.
The forthcoming season. Okay, let's talk about Felix Auger-Aliassime. He won in Basel.
Loves Basel.
And
loves that place.
Loves it. Interesting to note about this one. Since he lost, how many did he lose in a row?
80? I don't know. It felt like 80.
Is it 11 he lost? No, it wasn't 11, surely. Maybe it was 11. Anyway, he's now a 5-time tour champion, which is kind of cool to see. Obviously a bit of a struggle of a 2023 season in general, but for him to secure a title, even one where he knows very well and a repeat champion here, cool to see. And we'll give him some confidence going into the 2024 season.
I think it was 8 in a row, 8 losses in finals, Simon. So you're almost close. Yeah, and I mean, this was his first title since last year at the same place. And I think that's an interesting bookend. And I would say Felix's year has been defined by injury as well. And it seemed like he was finding a way to move past that towards the end. I was a bit disappointed to see the performance against Tsitsipas in Paris, but I think like Layla, he has a chance to go into this Davis Cup finals with Canada as an important piece. He's back with the team in the final 8. He's going to have to win some big matches against some big players. Probably plays Ruusuvuori maybe of Finland in the first tie. It's going to be big for him. And let's say he wins, or let's say he aids Canada in making a huge run here. Lord knows that'll help his confidence, and maybe we can see something similar to Layla. So I think this is a big end of the season for someone who's had a really tough go of it.
Did I see that he finished the year at 29 in the world rankings? Good Lord.
Is that right? I honestly...
Shows how bad of a season.
Though, but thought it could have been worse. That's not that bad for the free fall. Yeah, that's right. And sandwiched between Baez and Echeverry.
Let's move on. Quen Zheng, I mentioned in the previous segment, won in Jiangsu. I thought this was just an interesting stat in general. It's her first title, of course, but this was the first time in history that the WTA has seen 3 Chinese women win singles titles. There's no way that you can guess the other 2, but I thought it was a cool stat and shows how much Chinese tennis has grown, obviously since Li Na is good. Times are good in that side of the world, because you got some really good young up and coming Chinese players on the women's side, and chief among them Quen Zheng, who I think is going to have a fantastic 2024 campaign.
I believe Wang won in Guangzhou. And who is the other? How dare you say there was no way I would get that? I am shocked that you would. God, who was the other? Zhu, maybe? Zhu in Thailand. I think I might be right.
Good job, man.
Okay.
You did it.
Thank you. Bench.
I'll take it all back.
I think the Asian swing, it's cool to have this back in the sense that we're not worried about a virus taking over everywhere and people can travel relatively well and safely. But there's some cool wins that have happened since we last spoke, Simon. I thought that Ben Shelton win in Japan was one of them.
Ben Shelton won in Japan in a venue that I have now been to. I have been there. Odaiba in Tokyo. And you know what else is in Odaiba? The fucking Gundam, people. The life-size Gundam. It's down there. Why was there no shot of him holding the trophy next to the Gundam? Come on. Missed out on an opportunity here.
God, that would have been great.
It's a cool venue. Odaiba's a bit weird, actually. It's so Odaiba was an island that the Japanese made in, like, I don't know how long ago it was, but they basically made it out of trash. And then it got reinvented in the 90s, where it's this sort of neoliberal hellhole where it's just full of shopping malls and highways. But it's kind of fascinating to visit. Yeah. It kind of looks like all of North America, just in Japan. Oh, come on, people.
I love that. That's incredible.
European snobbery coming over.
It was a final for the purists with Aslan in there as well, but he got butchered a bit in the second set. But shouts to Ben Shelton, Simon. Shouts to Gael Monfils. Wow.
Doing the damn thing. Wins a title at the age of 37. One for the oldies, wasn't it? Back to back, Gael Monfils and Adrian Manarino and Sofia. Adrian Manarino, we were tracking that, right? We were tracking that story at the back end of the season to see whether or not he was going to get to a career high ranking. He did it at the age of 35. It's never too late. Dev, I will let you know, I am the age of 34.
Yeah.
If he can do it, then I can, right? Okay. Maybe I just need to shave my head.
As a 35-year-old, it's too late for you. I can confirm it's not going to happen. No, it's great. Let's get that sponsored. Did he get it sponsored yet? Does Manarino actually have a deal? He was one of the hydrogen guys for a bit, the skull crew, as we used to call them. One for the ballers, one for the junk ballers out there, one for the true players, the grinders, the shot callers. Manarino, after our hearts and minds as a tennis player.
What can we get him
Tennis Zizou. Yeah. What can we get him in?
Tennis Zizou. What outfit suits Adrian Manarino?
Brooks. The sporting brand Brooks, which I don't know still exists. I wonder if they'd be interested in taking a flyer here. LA Gear, perhaps, the light up shoes.
Given the quantity of old people that you see in On Running, is he not the perfect target to go after? He looks like a kind of player that would be at a country club.
I saw a pair of On Running hiking shoes at a Value Village, and I nearly bought them, Simon. But I had a light flashing before my eyes moment where I stopped. But man, yeah. No, I think On is too bougie for him. He's going to go with something pure.
I feel like we need to come up with a fan fiction about Adrian Manarino.
Yeah,
I know very little about him.
Knowing the sickos who like this sport, that is definitely in the works. It's probably gone to print already.
The GOAT, Adrian Gotarino, at the age of 35, up to a career high 22. Amazing achievement for him. Like, all shit posting aside, there's an amazing achievement. Yeah. It's fantastic to see in the sport. So I'm really excited.
Gail is 37 too. That's for the old heads out there. Awesome. Novak, of course. Yeah.
How is Gail Monfils 37?
I know. I mean, real talk. Have you heard of the person he beat in that final? Pavel Kotov. Did you know who that was? I'm curious.
Of course. I host a tennis podcast. I know every player inside of the top 200.
Moving on. Paris Bercy.
I love how I had in the notes Tournament Lightning Roundup and then just other parting shots. Other events have happened during the course of the time that we've been away. Let's start with Paris Bercy. The aforementioned at the start of this podcast, Jannik Sinner pulled out of this event because of something that we've seen many, many times in the sport of tennis, complete scheduling garbage. It was atrocious. This is one of the worst I'd ever seen, Devang, in terms of matches that were being asked to play super late. Rublev on court had some really funny lines about him being able to get to sleep at 5 a.m. and thanking the tournament organizers for that. Yeah. Dreadful. Bollocks, as they say in Britain.
Running theme, and I mean, we saw this on the WTA side, obviously, this year as well. I saw some tournament directors. I can't remember if this was Stacey Allister talking, who leads the U.S. Open, but the gate revenue is one thing, but I think it's also they haven't figured out like 6 other things involving this. And I don't know how much for priority it is across the board for these tournaments, but you think with the level of anger that was displayed this year of various tournaments, that something would be done, but I guess not.
You know how in like crisis PR, they like something happens, right? Something figures out that, I don't know, some multinational is drinking blood from children, and they're like, we'll just ride it out, it'll be fine. You just get over the wave. You know, you put out some PR statement and you say you're changing. Like, we're switching from child blood to dolphin blood instead. That's our change. And everyone's like, oh, okay, we'll just move on to the next thing. This is never going away in tennis, right? Like, in the sense that every single tournament this happens at. Or maybe they're just so used to the fact that it's happening that it's kind of moved into the background at this point.
It leads me to think about like where we talk about how tennis needs to change and how we need to make it a feature, not a bug, that like the highlight of the sport is that it's on all the time and you can find a match to watch at any time, and we're not really capitalizing on that. And then in that same vein, we're pissing off all the players because we're making them play at weird times across different countries. Like we're not only not executing well on this in the sense of getting this product out to a wider audience, but we're also angering the people who are actually doing the whole playing the sport thing and making us fall in love with it. So it's kind of bleak.
Let's switch gears to a story that has come up multiple times, and I feel like we always apologize going into this at the state of this fucking sport. Alexander Zverev was issued a penalty order for bodily harm against his ex-girlfriend. I think it was 450,000 euros by a court in Germany, I believe in Berlin. He will appeal this. What's more to say about this other than, like, I feel tremendously bad for the poor young women involved here. And obviously support goes out to her and her family and everything involved in it. But this is fucking terrible, Dev. How does this keep happening to this guy? There's very little defense that we can make of him at this point because it's not an isolated one incident, is it? This is multiple occasions that this is happening, and his behavior on court is erratic, is angry, is dangerous to see. It's just terrible.
Yeah, and the ATP explanation for why they're not looking into this to me is just in the athletic piece we have in the notes here from Matthew Futterman. It says, the ATP has not followed a similar track with Petea because she has pursued charges through Germany's legal system. The ATP has opted not to take any action or make any comments on the case while it proceeds, calling such a move inappropriate. So they're basically washing their hands as another jurisdiction handles this, right? I guess that's their move here. But in times in the past, like I guess the first allegation, the only reason they really did anything is because people like Andy Murray were like, you should do something about this. And then they hired a third party consultant to go in and conduct this investigation, which took 15 months for the Sharapova allegation. So it's like they need to be told or exposed or condemned publicly to act, it seems. And it wasn't as much of an outcry as I thought there would be as he played in Turin. So perhaps they won't act then.
I'd be shocked if they do. I'd be absolutely shocked if they actually made some or gave him some fine or penalty or anything or suspension. It seems very, very unlikely at this point. I guess the closing point on this just for the season for us to say is like, fuck that dude. Fuck domestic violence in general. And as a sport, we need to do significantly better. Not just in 2024, but forever. That's the only thing that's really worth saying here.
Well said, sir. I think the Canadian champs might have broken the best doubles team of all time.
It's over, people. Don't cry because it's ended. Cry because it happened. Katerina Siniakova and Barbara Krejcikova are breaking up. The split has happened. They will not play doubles in 2024. When you have won everything, literally everything, it's got to be hard to find the motivation to continue to do so. Other than the financials, of course. I'm sure it's very nice to win these tournaments and earn the paychecks that they do. It's not particularly surprising, I suspect, given all of the success that they've had, but at the same time, they could just keep winning everything if they wanted to, shortly.
This year, injuries really kind of messed them up this year, and they didn't look like the same old doubles superstar pairing that they were at the Billies, at the event against the US and then against Canada as well. But yeah, I mean, I think they won gold at Tokyo, correct, Simon? So I wouldn't be surprised if they rejoin in Paris for a one-time only type deal.
Also been to that site as well. Just know we're on it. Went to the Olympic site.
How's it looking? Derelict,
good, yeah.
Derelict and not enough to upkeep.
It's not quite like Rio
like
or
every other Olympic venue.
Fucking
like Athens. No,
been taken over by nature at this point. This is now a place where lions live. No, it's still quite nice. Moving on, Belinda Bencic is announced her pregnancy and will miss time, obviously, in 2024. Dev, I have in the notes here that you're still picking her to win a slam in the 2024 calendar. Is that accurate?
Listen, you never know. You never know, really, these days. When medical science is at its peak right now, with the level of technology we have. No, big congrats to BB. We move on. I mean, the Swiss connection, we find new stars, as we do at Desai Industries. But yeah, no, congrats to Belinda Bencic.
Let's close punting shots this round of it, just to say Annette Kontaveit is done. She wrapped up 2 weekends ago, I believe, in a exhibition against Ange Jabeur in Tallinn. Fantastic career. We're sad to see her go. Former world number 2, of course. It still seems bizarre that she's retiring, that she's done. Sucks that the way that her body didn't hold up on her. But in general, someone that we enjoyed watching, enjoyed seeing playing, and it's sad to see her go. We wish her all the best in retirement.
Agreed. Awesome that Ons was there as well. Obviously, two really great friends and people who've had some awesome moments together on the tour. It was cool for Ons to head out to Estonia to celebrate Annette and her career. Wonderful to see her around the game in other ways as well, considering her age and considering she seems like a really smart person who's really well liked by a lot of her peers. So maybe she's got a role in the Hollywood tour going forward, because they need some help, as we've outlined several times.
They certainly do. She could also find a career in audiobook reading. She'd be fantastic at that, just given her fantastic accent. Or podcasting. Get her involved. She'll be on this podcast before too long. Dev, let's close parting shots with just one final thought.
Yeah.
There's still tournaments going on. What is going on?
So it's just Davis Cup, right? That's it.
No, there's WTA tournaments big.
Where?
There's 3 tournaments in December.
Oh my God, no. Okay. Well, I'll choose to tackle that when it comes, because that's upsetting. My God.
And we have almost done it. Fucking next week, Dev. We'll have done the whole year again.
That's true. We got into our year-end content, the fireside chat.
You know, in NBA or NFL, or even Premier League circles, how people complain, the season's too long, and all this kind of stuff. How about
nuts, man?
The United Cup literally started on December the 29th last year, and we're still talking about the same season.
It's nuts. It's nuts. It's obscene, actually. And on that note, 2 challenges remaining, Simon. What do you got?
I mean, I already mentioned it off the top. So I obviously spent a month in Japan and visited multiple sites, and it would be fantastic to do a roundup on a podcast at some point about all the things that I saw. But
we should do that.
The one point that I would make about this, so I mentioned being in a place with fantastic, reliable public transit and infrastructure. And so we had the JR pass, and JR is Japan Rail for those wondering, which is basically one of the private companies that runs some parts of the rail network in Japan. And that allows you to get on any JR train just about within reason. There's some trains that you can't get on, but they're very exclusive, expensive trains. But I would say 95% of the network is open to you for 3 weeks. So you pay your $600 for it. And I've never felt more free in my adult life. It's one of those things that when you are outside of that bubble and you're sort of stuck in the way that North America operates, just being able to go to any station and get to anywhere in the country so quickly, so reliably, and just so, cleanly with all that comes with it. It's absolutely remarkable. And I forgot how much I missed it. So in short, support public transit, because when you do, you feel fantastic. It feels
what an
so
advert.
good.
Wow. Incredible advert for public transit and Tokyo Rail, Japan Rail. No, like I said, I saw a million Instagram stories the last few weeks of some friends of mine who were in Japan and just marveling at the infrastructure and the transportation system. And yeah, that's on my list to get there ASAP. Awesome, Bush, to hear you guys had a great time. My parting shot, I think I mentioned my dad before on the show a few times, actually. And a few weeks ago, I mentioned we got a chance to play at a court near my parents' house with my sister. And the reason why we've been on a kind of a break, and Simon was in Japan, but also my dad has been unwell. He had another stroke, unfortunately, and he's recovering right now at a hospital in Toronto. But I know I've talked to a few friends and folks who listen to this pod about it, but thanks for all the well wishes from yourself as well, Bush. It mean a lot. So thanks to everyone. And he's still fighting and on the road to recovery, hopefully. So just playing it one day at a time, and thankful for the time that we have left. I think about him a lot when I watch tennis, Simon. It's just that kind of relationship we have, and part of the reason why I love this sport. But it's hard not to think about him when I was watching final today and any of the tennis the last few weeks. But it's a good feeling, and I hope that he can make his way back.
I mean, we love and support you, Dev. Take as much time as you need. Best wishes to your dad as well. It's one of those that's realized the fragility of life and everything. And also just a really interesting time for your relationship with tennis as well. Just a guy who literally got you into it. It's
I was thinking about how he would have found the cricket final today, and I think not being able to watch that live would have been great. I think
for the best, right?
You would not have had a good time watching that. So yeah, I hope he gets better. And yeah, we love him a lot. And tennis, man, binds a lot of us, and the relationships we form over it, they mean a lot. So we love this game. and the season somewhat, kind of, even though it was kind of weird and it's still going. But we'll talk about all that, I'm sure, as we wrap up 2023. This is our 199th episode, Simon. That's pretty nuts.
Good Lord. Wow. 199. Wow. How?
Wowza. Okay. Let's leave it there. A reminder, we are on patreon.com/open-era. Join us there. Get the show ad free. Get it early on Sundays. Plus join the best dang Discord in the land. Love our Discord community immensely. The people on there they're great. And also over the past few weeks, as I've been in and out of watching tennis, been able to keep up with what's going on thanks to those folks over there. So join them. Patreon.com/open-era. We're also on x.com/open-era pod. I can't believe I called it X.
Why would you do that?
I'm sorry, everyone. I wanted to see how it sounds. I wanted to see how it sounded. It felt awful. So I just confirmed it. But yeah, we're on there too, I guess, for now. But that's it. For our producer, Dylan, on the ones and twos, and for Simon, thank you so much for listening to Open Era. We'll talk to you next week.
Crushed it, boys.
Killed it. Wow. Well done. Okay.
We should just leave this in. Right?
Yeah, this is
so good.
You killed it, man. All right.